really are loving what we're doing here for our community and having time with our family. If we go back to a job, it would be scratching and clawing our way back. Now that you've tasted entrepreneurship yourself, quitting your job in 2020 and starting your business, it's scary, but it's less scary because our house is paid for.
And it feels a whole lot better with that unknown out there in front of you day after day, not having to worry about your house.
How would you like to own your home outright? What would it feel like to never make a mortgage payment ever again? On our mortgage-free segment today, we're going to interview Mark and Tiffany Baker from Terre Haute, Indiana. Recently, this 30-something couple paid off their home for good. We're going to find out why they did this and what mortgage freedom has done for their family of 5. Welcome to the show, Mark and Tiffany.
Well, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you both for being here. Let's start off. I'd like to start off the show with something I call the mortgage-free 3. These are quick, short answers to help people understand what you've done with this crazy mortgage freedom business. So the first one is, what was your starting mortgage principal balance?
So we purchased our home here in Terre Haute for $89,000, and we put 25% down. So we had a little over 66 grand on it.
Awesome. And then how long did it take you to pay down that 66 grand?
20 months.
20
about a year
months.
And a half.
Wow. Excellent. So you guys were on fire there. That's about $30K a year. Very cool. And then what is the home valued at today?
About 200,000.
200. What a good market.
Yeah.
Going well.
God bless real estate. How cool. Well, let's talk about this wild adventure you guys have been on. Why did you want to become mortgage free?
We quit our jobs in April 2019, to start our own business. You know, we were on the debt-free journey, fire journey for a long time. And we got to that point where we said, all right, it's time, so we quit our jobs and moved back to Terre Haute, and we bought this house, and it became very, very important for the future long-term security that goes, along with the financial freedom side of saying, like, all right, we're going to be entrepreneurs. We're going to work for ourselves. We're going to be on this for the long haul. The number one thing we need to do, like our biggest chess piece, on the table, was buying our home and then paying it off, so that worst comes to worst, everything goes south, we at least own our roof.
I love that. And then you guys did this in 2019, 2020. When did you become mortgage free? How recent was this?
I think we wrote the check probably either June or July.
June or July of 2021. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. And then did what happened during the pandemic sort of escalate your interest in being mortgage free because of, hey man, oh gosh, at least we've got our house all gone. What do you think?
Yeah, so we teach Financial Peace University here in Terre Haute with United Way and with our local YMCA. And so we were preaching this to all kinds of other people, right? And so it was a really fun update for us to say that we paid off our home. That was one of our updates on the weekly meetings that we had.
Yep. And then I guess, like, from the pandemic side, us being in our business is, we flip homes here, we renovate houses here in Terre Haute, and then we also, invest in like long-term holds and creating passive income. And so we're in the real estate world, which the pandemic actually, with the, I guess from the buying and selling side, didn't really affect it much, other than inventory went really low, which on the side for us, we had inventory to sell. So we didn't feel much of effects from the pandemic on that side. It was more on supply chain stuff, delays on lead times, things like that. So we didn't have a lot of effects from the pandemic that way. So our driving force for paying off our mortgage came from the debt-free journey that began in 2008. That was, once we took on the debt, it was like, well, now we have it. You know what we have to do to that? It has to go bye-bye.
Interesting. Well, tell us about this moment you said, hey, we're going to quit our jobs and move, it sounds like move back home. Where were you? What were you doing? And what changed in your lives where you said, we want to change directions? I
guess we were working in Japan at the time whenever we actually made the leap and quit our jobs. Tiffany was an accountant for the U.S. government, so she was a Department of Defense accountant for a long time, and so that moved us, from Indianapolis to Naples, Italy, to Denver, Colorado, and then to Yokosuka, Japan, which is just south of Tokyo. And but again, along that whole journey, we were, we did the debt-free journey piece while we lived in Indianapolis, and then we moved to Italy and started basically just hammering out retirement accounts, and then we realized well, we got the news we were going to have our first baby. So we were like, all right, that opened our eyes a little bit. And then it opened them up even more when we had our second and our third. And, we started a lot, working more toward the, you had the recent show, the time being, a currency, right? Like, and to us, time is the only currency, right? I mean, it is the most important piece of, I guess, a resource that you have, right? You have no idea how much of it you have, and it's very important. And then when we were in Japan, we were already kind of really working the numbers and trying to figure out how much passive income we needed to make the leap and become financially independent. And then my dad passed away unexpectedly, and we were 6,000 miles away on the wrong side of the world. And then, that kind of flipped our worlds upside down. And that happened in July of 2018. And by April of 2019, we were on a plane heading home, so it was like, all right, if anything like that happens again, we're not going to be, 48 hours away from home, if we get another phone call like that. So that made it much more important for proximity. And then also on the side note of that, it skewed our equation heavily toward how quickly we could quit our jobs and become financially independent when we started targeting moving back to Terre Haute, Indiana instead, because that really wasn't ever always the thought until that happened. But the cost of living here is just so cheap that as soon as we started plugging in the numbers and saying, well, if we just move back to Terre Haute, move back close to home, because we thought Indianapolis, still a little bit higher cost of living there. But as soon as we put the numbers in from Terre Haute, it just changed everything. And we were like, okay, yeah, we could do this like really quickly if we did that.
We say that living in Terre Haute is living life on clearance, just because we've lived in such high cost of living areas. We really appreciate what we have here. I know that us purchasing this home for $79,000 total is ridiculous. I couldn't buy a parking spot in Denver for that. Really appreciate what we have.
Absolutely. And having lived in those other high cost of living areas, it gives you appreciation for what you can do there in Terre Haute. And it sounds like when you talk about financial independence and your passive income, this sounds like your means to that is real estate investing. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So starting in Denver is when we bought our first rental property, but we did not buy it in Denver because, again, the same house in Denver was $400,000 that you could buy in Indianapolis in the suburbs there for $100,000. And so we bought, between Denver and Japan, we bought 3 different rental properties that were giving us about $3,200 in cash flow a month. So that plus the cash we had saved up and being debt free, that's kind of what put us in that position to be able to say, all right, we can move back to Terre Haute and we can survive for a while with the rental income. And our rent, the house that we rented was $675 a month, $8,100 for a year. We're like, okay, we can do that. We can at least, let's give it a try for a year. We can do that. We can at least figure something out.
That's incredible. So with your new business that you guys both quit your jobs, you were able to pay off the home and take care of your livelihood with the money you were making. Is that right?
Yeah. So we have 3 daughters who are ages 3, 5, and 6. And so our business is 3 Sisters Investments. So it's everything we're doing is for them. But what we did to pay off this mortgage was, as we would flip homes, we would take the profits and put it into this really big project that we had. And so we turned a 4-plex into a single family home, which turned out to be super expensive to do. And so it was great. And we learned a lot, but we use that as kind of a savings account for us. And so we called that home Dream Home. And it's because, we're doing high end fixtures and all this stuff, but also we knew that we were putting so much of our profit into that house that when it did sell, that we were going to live our dream even further by paying off our home. So when Dream House sold and now a family lives in it and they're happy, we were able to pay off our house. So it was a win-win for everybody.
Tiffany, Talk to me about the typical numbers of when you flip a house. Like what could somebody expect? Obviously, it depends on where you are in the country and everything like that. But what are you making when you go put in some good money and then you flip it? Like what is a good result for you?
So I feel like we make $20,000 on almost every house. Is that proper?
Again, we took on a couple of really big projects that sunk a lot of money into those. And we would still come out anywhere between, I think the least we've made on a house, I think was 17 or 18. And then we've made up to, I think Dream House actually being a large project still, I think netted about 32 or 33. But when it came down to it, it was like we did this huge project. We owned the house for a year, which again, some of that was waiting tenants out and things like that. But still, in the end, we thought, man, we held that for a really long time and had to put a lot of money into it. It became a glorified savings account, which again, for a purpose, because it paid off our home once we cashed that check at closing. But we realized that, just because it's a bigger project does not mean bigger profits. So I would say we tend to fall right around the $20,000 range, on the back end.
And then the typical time frame, let's say, it's one of these 20K, profit flips. Like, what is that? 6 months, 5 months? What is that?
For us, it's usually, we hold them for between 3 to 4 months. 4 is kind of the average, I think, on most of the homes that we flipped here.
We always have some in the pipeline as well. So it's not like every 4 months we're selling a house. So as we're selling, we have a house on the market right now. We're already working on the next projects to list, if that makes sense.
That's incredible. I love it. So it sounds like outside of this being the money-making way you guys make money, it sounds like controlling your expenses, probably all the way from 2008, has been a central theme as well. I would assume from Tiffany's accounting background, as well as just your embracing of Financial Peace University and everything like that, knowing that you can control your expenses. How did you guys do that? How did you learn that? And what are some things, maybe some sacrifices you've had to do along the way?
The turning point for us would have been when we first got married. We moved to Indianapolis, and then her parents, we still had a house that Tiffany actually had bought whenever we were in college. She was house hacking before we even knew that's what she was doing. She bought that, and I was paying rent to her, it's before we were married. So I was living there. Some friends were living there. We're all paying rent. She had no idea that she was doing something that we learned a lot more about later in life. But yeah, so we're taking care of that property here, and we were living about an hour and a half away in Indianapolis, and so we were driving back and forth a lot. And Tiffany's parents were like, "Hey, take this book of CDs and listen to give these a listen." And it turned out to be Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace, So that started us on that debt-free journey.
But then when we were in Denver, that's when we opened up to the FIRE movement and did podcasts and blogs and all of the things. And so we just binged all of that, living in such a high cost of living area. And then when we got my contract to move to Japan, my contract paid all of our living expenses. So we're debt free. We have these rentals that are generating cash flow. And we're just kind of working on savings and trying to figure out what the next step is. And so when we really realized that time was the currency that we cared about, it just really made us focus even further. We're both numbers people. Mark ran banks also, so we're just total nerds.
Yeah, and really, the core of, I think, the core of the FIRE movement really is lowering your living expenses, right? And then that way your FIRE number is just so much lower if you can control how much you spend. And so this summer, kind of another thing we did that was, so we teach Financial Peace for adults, but then there was a local summer camp here that our daughters were attending, and they wanted us to teach this thing called Lemonade Stand Day or Lemonade Day. It's kind of a kid's version of entrepreneurship and learning, how to run a business, right, by running a lemonade stand. But they had us come in and teach a day that was called Spend, Save, Give. And the director of the summer camp said, I understand that spend is probably not what you guys really care too much about. You're more on the save and spend side, or save and give side. And I said, actually, quite the opposite, that, it all starts from the spend side. If you can't control the spending side, you'll never have the money to save or give, So really the core of everything is, paying off debts, lowering your monthly expenses, and and basically, having more money to do things with. And in our case, we've focused so much more on investing in the things that give us money back today, like passive income through real estate and through rentals, versus, hammering out the IRAs and the Roths and the 401ks, because, you kind of lock that money in until you're 60. And then, we thought, well, if that's the case, we're going to work till we're 60. I don't want to do that. I want something that's going to spin off some returns today. And that's where we turned our attention to investing in real estate.
I love that. And that's one of the reasons I really love real estate investing. You can and do something you really enjoy, which it sounds like you both really enjoy doing now. Yeah. Enjoy your career, your job, your business, whatever you want to call it, and make great money, and probably involve your daughters in the business as they get older as well. Talk to us about what happens now. You guys are mortgage free. You're building this community business in Terre Haute. Where do you see you utilizing the extra money you have in your life over the next 5 to 10 years? What's your vision?
Okay, so here's the splurge. So our goal has always been to, kind of delegate everything in our life. That's really what we say. And
time is the currency, right? Delegate as much as you can.
So what we just recently did, now that we've paid off our house, we hired a local company to start mowing our grass every week. And then we've also hired house cleaners to come in. Now they're going to come in every 2 weeks. And that's just us, supporting other families, but also really allowing us just to focus on our 3 toddlers, because sometimes that can be a lot. So we need to, when we're with them, we want to be really with them, and I don't want to be cleaning. So.
Yeah, they're trying to clean up around them, and like to the deep cleaning, really, and then obviously if I'd go out to mow the grass, albeit we have a very small yard, it would still take me an hour to go out there and mow, weed eat, and all the things, and I'd get all sweaty and gross, and the whole time the girls would be inside playing or be at the window watching me and everything. And it's like, no, I don't want to be out here. I want to be in there. So, that $30 a week was us buying back another hour of my time, which is very much worth it to me.
I love that. Yeah. You have the option to control how you use your time. You've given yourself the option because you guys have built up this financial piece, as you call it, which I love. Let's talk to the people out there who are maybe, listen to this and saying, well, yeah, there are real estate investors, but they paid off their low interest mortgage. How could they rationalize that from a numbers sense? Why would that make sense? What would you say to that person who's saying, I just can't see how you could pay off such a low interest rate mortgage and not just invest more in rental properties and keep the mortgage? What would you say to that person?
So I'm not mad at anyone for investing in the stock market. We have a lot of money in the stock market, for 30-year-olds that will touch, when we get to traditional retirement. But we didn't get to where we are by listening to well-intentioned folks. So when we teach financial peace, we teach that 8 out of 10 people are living paycheck to paycheck. So those people who are questioning what we're doing, or how we've lived our lives since 2008, frankly, they might be on the other side of that. They might not be in that 20%. And so the only thing we can do is just to live life on our terms and be unapologetic about that. And just hope that we can encourage others to, just define their dream life and then go live it.
Yeah. And then here's a real quick answer to that too. Low interest, high interest, any interest. Interest is interest. That's free money going to the bank and out of my pocket, today. So it doesn't matter what the interest rate is. I don't want to donate money to the bank anymore. And again, things go south, and we finish a bunch of projects and they all sit on the market for a year. All I have to worry about doing is keeping my lights on and keeping the girls fed and making a couple tax payments, and we've got enough reserves for that. So I don't have to ever worry about, and again, this is going to be another, little cheesy, Dave Ramsey plug, because we've been teaching it, but I love this one thing he says. He's like, I've done super deep, very in-depth research on foreclosures, and 100% of foreclosures happen on houses that have a mortgage. Right? It's like, okay, yeah, so true. If you don't have a mortgage, the bank can't come touch your house anymore.
there's a lot of peace. There's a lot of peace to having our home paid off and knowing that we really are loving what we're doing here for our community and having time with our family. And if we go back to a job, it would be scratching and clawing our way back. Now that you've tasted entrepreneurship yourself, quitting your job in 2020 and starting your business, it's scary, but it's less scary because our house is paid for.
Yeah. And I would say that you can probably agree 100% that being that you took the entrepreneurial leap, you did it with your mortgage paid off 100%. And it feels a whole lot better with that unknown out there in front of you day after day, not having to worry about your house.
You both said it right. Absolutely. I think that it made it a ton easier for us to both say, yes, let's go for this. It's something that you're passionate about, Andy. Go for it. And without having the mortgage paid off, I'm not sure that I would. It's not a requirement for people, obviously, to pursue their dreams, but man, did it make me feel a lot better making that risk, especially with with a young family. This is a great story.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing it with us, Mark and Tiffany. If people are interested in learning more about Three Sisters Investments, or just maybe connecting with you, maybe on Instagram, where can they do that?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram. Like I said, our company is Three Sisters Investments, and it's just the number 3. And I encourage anyone to reach out to us on Instagram. I think that's the best way. Our email is also threesistersinvestments@gmail.com. So either one of those.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much today for being open and honest and sharing. I'm all about transparency. I believe that helps people when they're looking at how to get these things done, and I appreciate you guys doing that today. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Thanks
very
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you for having us.